Hello, my name is Mike, and this is a bike. Now, if you watched my previous video, you saw me kind of rig up a hydraulic brake system for this bike because, well, I was operating the crutch with a lever down here, and it was kind of sketchy. So instead of replacing the cable for the 475th and a half times, I've decided to rig up a hydraulic clutch. In the previous episode, we used a clutch master cylinder from a Honda Goldwing. It didn't fit very good. We just kind of temporarily routed the hose so that we could just make sure that the really cheap aftermarket slave cylinder had enough throw to move that clutch lever. And we proved it actually worked. So this is episode part 2. I kind of felt obligated to call it part 2 since I called the other one part 1. And really, it's not going to be a very long episode because, well, you already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to route the hose underneath the gas tank, behind the fairing, under the seat, you know, where it's supposed to go. And I'm going to put an actual Victory Vision clutch master cylinder on it so it will actually fit the bike. And I can mount my mirror, my brake light switch will work, or my clutch switch will work, and it'll be right. And so that's what this episode is going to be. It's going to be a short one. Really, I could have combined the 2 episodes into one big episode, but I didn't want to wait for the part to get here. So we decided to make 2 episodes out of it. So, you know, stick around.
Somewhere in a dusty, dirty back alley in western Arizona, not far from historic Route 66, is an old fart trying to cram a square peg into a round hole. He'll work on anything, just as long as it's got at least 2 cool wheels.
So this is the master cylinder we're going to install. I got it on eBay. Pretty much the cheapest one I could find that, you know, was complete. The handle's got a broken knabi, but that's not really that important. It'll still operate. And I'll just keep my eyeballs peeled for a lever to come up and I can replace the lever independently of the rest of it. The main thing is this will bolt on. It'll clear my hand control switch assembly. I can mount my mirror right there, and it'll work just like it was designed for the bike because, well, it was. So actually, it's converting to a hydraulic clutch is a fairly common upgrade that people have done to these cross countries. I've seen quite a few other people online that have done so. So that'll be a nice addition to this bike. So let's dig in. I don't know how much of the fairing I have to take apart, but I do know the tank's got to come off, the seat's got to come off. So we'll rip into it, we'll route that hose, we'll put this on, and then we'll take her for a little spin. Show you guys something I discovered quite by accident. See, to get this fuel line off, well, you got to be able to squeeze the little green square on both sides at the same time. And it's kind of way back in there. It's the same way at the tank end. I find this is actually easier than the tank end to get to. But what I accidentally discovered was that my spark plug boot pliers have little jaws at exactly the right size and distance to be able to squeeze the little green thingies. So not only is this good for pulling off spark plug boots, It's also good for pulling off fuel lines on a Victory cross country. Yay, spark plug boot pliers. Now, while I've got the gas tank off, I'm also going to take the time to go ahead and clean my air filter. Because of its location, well, it doesn't get serviced very often. It's kind of hard to get to. You got to take the tank off. This particular one has the upgraded Lloyd's filter. Yours might look a little different, but the bottom line is this thing's filthy. And so we'll take it out. We'll get it cleaned up while we have the tank off. So that's good. So I'm trying to fish the hose through here without having to take the fairing all apart. I got to get it up into this corner, so I got a little piece of wire. I'm going to try to feed the wire down to this end and then just, fish it back through. Well, not sure if that'll work, but we'll get some wire up in here and see if we can't pull that hose through using a piece of wire to guide it. All right, I used a different piece of wire. This I was able to feed through okay. We'll just attach this to the end of our hose, and that should do the trick. Yeah, it's getting there, but there's just a real narrow passage here. I still might have to take the stupid fairing off. Okie dokie, so she's in, she's routed, she's connected to the master cylinder. Master cylinder is installed, and I was able to reinstall my hand control. I still got to scooch this a little. So that end is done, and what I've done is I left the old clutch cable casing in place. If my hydraulic clutch should happen to fail going down the road, well, I can get a chunk of cable and cram it through there, and I'll have a backup plan. So I'm going to leave the old casing. It's kind of a backup. Problem now is I've got a little bit of slack here. I've got to figure out how to get this slack where it's not in the way of stuff. My tank doesn't have a lot of clearance under here, so not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But I'll figure it out. Well, one of these stupid screws decided to, round out. So my Allen wasn't removing it. I'm going to have to take a little bit of violence to it to get it out. But we'll get it out, even if I got to drill the little sumbitch out. she's dirty. Alrighty, so the hose is routed, it's zip tied up out of the way. I've cleaned and re-oiled my air filter so it will do its job. All that remains is to bleed the system and put the gas tank back on. Sounds good. Alrighty, I think I've got her bled. I've created a enormous mess. Fluid is everywhere. But I believe I've got enough movement. It feels pretty solid. And the lever does move. Will it be enough? I don't know. I don't want to put it all together only to find out it's not enough. But what I can do is I can put it in gear and see if the bike will roll when I pull the clutch in. That's one way to check it without actually, riding it. Oh yeah, I can roll it. It drags a little bit. So it's not, I gotta work it. And then it'll release enough to roll. So there's probably a little bit of air still trapped in the system. I'll play with it some more. But it's almost there. That's going to do it for this episode. We now have a functioning clutch system, and my cross country can take me across the country, well, like it was intended to do. But she's going to need a bath first. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the old, like, subscribe, share button, and let your enemies and friends know what a lousy channel I have so that they can be bored too. Thanks for watching.